What if events had unfolded differently? What if Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was in the MCU? What if Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was in Avengers Infinity War? Picking up from the last part of this Marvel's What If, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was in the MCU. The events of Civil War were avoided as the Sokovia Accords never took place. As I said in the previous video, I thought I was going to be going into a in-depth Civil War event, but after overlooking the story, it didn't make sense to include Tobey in Civil War, since the story was leaning the other way where the events don't happen, so I didn't do it even though I had plans for it. I think later down the line I'm going to be making a version of him in Civil War, but it will be a completely different fan fiction with Tobey Maguire where I can dive more in depth with the characters such as Captain America, Iron Man, and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man himself, and where he'll be siding and when this will be taking place. But that being said, let's continue the Marvel's What If. Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, was still on the run from the authorities after the incident that took place during the events of Captain America the Winter Soldier. As the newly recruited Avengers were training the Avengers compound, Peter meanwhile has resumed his duties at Parker Industries. He also hired Dr. Kurt Connors to be the new head of division for the biogenetics department. His daughter May Parker is 3 years old, and Mary Jane was awaiting for another newborn son, which was due within the next 3 months. MJ was no longer a singer at the club as she has taken the role of a secretary at Peter's company. Tony Stark never recruited the MCU version of Peter Parker as there was no Civil War events. Tony knew that there was another similar Spider-Man out there but decided not to recruit him as he was still a kid. One Spider-Man was enough, he thought to himself. Much of the beginning of Infinity War's timeline will be the same. The Mad Titan Thanos acquired the Power Stone after obliterating Xandar. He then moved to acquire the Space Stone from Thor in his Asgardian spaceship after killing Heimdall and Loki. Thanos then shifted his next target to the Reality Stone at nowhere. Heimdall managed to send Hulk back to Earth during his dying moments as Thor watched. Hulk crashed into the Sanctum Sanctorum, who was discovered by Doctor Strange and Wong. Strange went to alert Tony, as the rift between the Avengers were non-existent due to the Sokovia Accords not happening. Tony contacted Steve Rogers and informed him of the threat Thanos poses. Steve, Natasha, Wanda, Sam, Pedro, and Vision were on active patrol duties around the world, eliminating terrorism and global threats. Steve told Tony that he would immediately head to Tony when they have accomplished their other duties. Tony contacted Peter and also informed him of Thanos. Since Peter was not in active duties as Spider-Man since the Age of Ultron events, Peter went to visit Tony in his Peter Parker form. After hearing Strange and Wong explain about the Infinity Stones, Peter was surprised. All these years as a hero, he has yet to hear of something of this scale before. Just then, they heard people running and scrambling on the streets. Peter, Tony, Bruce Banner, Strange, and Wong went out as they saw a large spaceship appearing in the sky. Down came Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian. Peter, who never brought a Spider-Man suit, was told by Strange and Wong to get back. Peter and Bruce went to bring the other civilians to safety. Strange, Wong, and Tony, meanwhile, tried to fight back Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw. As Ebony was stronger compared to the trio, the Black Order were on the brink of winning. As Ebony was about to transport Strange back to his spaceship, he was punched continuously by a force. Ebony was then restricted by some sort of telekinesis similar to him. The cavalry have arrived. Steve, Sam, and Pedro fought against Cull Obsidian, while Wanda, Natasha, and Vision were fighting against Ebony Maw. Steve threw his shield at Cull Obsidian, while Strange created a portal cutting his head off. With Cull Obsidian out of the picture and Ebony Maw left, the Avengers shifted their attentions to him. Steve Rogers said that they should keep Ebony Maw for interrogation, while Tony said that it would be better off for them to place back Ebony Maw on his spaceship and follow him to where Thanos might be. Tony and Cap had a brief rift when Peter's spider sense started to tingle. He told them to be careful when they heard a scream coming from Vision. They saw Vision being being stabbed in the back by Corvus Glaive. Wanda was about to use her telekinesis powers on him before Proxima and Corvus then took Vision away, while Sam, Tony, and Steve made the chase to them. The trio eventually caught up to them as Corvus Glaive was on the brink of removing the Mind Stone from his head. Pedro came in time to punch Corvus Glaive away and allowing them to retrieve Vision safely. Realizing that they have messed up, the Black Order retreated while promising that the next time they will acquire the stone. With Vision wounded badly, the Avengers were deciding on what they should do with him. The Mind Stone plays a key effect in Thanos' Infinity Stones plan. If they were to destroy the stone, then Thanos can be stopped. Steve, however, refused as he said that no lives will be sacrificed. As Tony and Steve were battling over what they should do with Vision, Peter said that he would be able to extract the Mind Stone without killing him. However, Vision might lose much of his abilities and he would just be an intelligent android. Vision said that this would be the best shot. Peter says that it would be advisable to have some backup at Parker Industries with some Avengers guarding them. Tony's tracker beeped as they found the location of Ebony Maw in the deep space. They figured that Ebony would most probably be united with the Black Order. Tony decided to build a spaceship that could transport them into space if necessary. Captain America said that he will head over to Wakanda to acquire help of Black Panther perhaps. Sam, Natasha, and Bruce joined Captain America while Wanda and Pedro remained at Parker Industries with Peter. Strange and Wong returned back to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and the Mad Titan, meanwhile, has obtained the Reality Stone and the Soul Stone on Nowhere and Vormir respectively. Thor went to obtain the Stormbreaker with Rocket Raccoon and Groot. In the original timeline, Tony, Strange, and Spider-Man joined forces with the Guardians of the Galaxy to fight against Thanos alone on Titan. However, in this timeline, due to none of the Avengers were on Titan, it was only Star-Lord, Drax, Mantis, and Nebula who were on Titan this time. Gamora was killed on Vormir, while the other two were with Thor. The Guardians of the Galaxy were spying on Thanos, talking to his Black Order. The Mad Titan returned with the Black Order on Titan with 4 stones already completed on his gauntlet. He was disappointed that his children have failed him and Cole was already dead. He says that he will go to Earth himself and told him to prepare the armies. Star-Lord knows that going head-on against Thanos and his children would result in suicide. Knowing that Thanos will be heading to Earth, Star-Lord told the rest to prepare the spaceship and sent the coordinates to Earth. Steve then told Black Panther that they will be needed in his help as Thanos is coming and soon the entire universe will be doomed once he gets his hands on all of the Infinity Stones. Black Panther agreed and dispatched Shuri to New York to help Peter with the extraction of the Mind Stone. Meanwhile, at Parker Industries, Peter was already 50% of completion of the extraction with the Mind Stone. Wanda and Pedro were still around during the process, and Tony's satellites then informed him that there were legions of spaceships in the Earth's atmosphere, and the estimated location of the spaceships dropping will be in New York City. Tony then knew that Thanos will be arriving soon. He contacted Steve and Peter about it. Steve said that Black Panther and his armies of Wakanda will be arriving soon in New York. Tony alerted General Thunderbolt Ross about the arrival of Thanos. However, Ross refused to believe him and thought that this was a hoax from Tony. Tony then dispatched his Iron Drones across New York to evacuate them as a huge war will break out in the midst of New York. As Shuri arrived, the process of the Mind Stone extraction was already at 75%. Doctor Strange, Wong, and Tony with his Iron Legions arrived at Parker Industries, as they know that the war with Thanos is soon. Just then, Thanos and his armies arrived in New York. General Thunderbolt Ross, who realized that Tony's warning was real, dispatched the National Guard, Marines, the Air Force, and the US Army to New York. Peter and Shuri were working together swiftly to fasten the Mind Stone extraction from Vision. Steve, Doctor Strange, Wong, and the other wizards from the Sanctum Sanctorum, Natasha, Bruce Banner in this Hulkbuster uniform, and Black Panther would arrive in New York with their armies assembled. The hordes of Chitauri and Outriders were unleashed as the Avengers battled against them. Pedro went to help the Avengers in the battle while Wanda stayed behind. Peter, who has been working on a modified Iron Spider suit since his last hero days, prepared it on standby.